Dried Cherry Juice Series, Chapter 24, Paranormal Experiences. Let's spice things up a bit, shall we? Yes. Let's talk about the time that I ended up calling the SWAT team for a ghost shoving a remote control under my bedroom door. I'm very aware of how wild that sounds. It was no heyday for me either, alright? I mean, it wasn't funny in the moment, but in hindsight, I guess it's kind of funny to reminisce on because I know just how ridiculous this story is going to sound. This is how you know what I am about to tell you really happened, because you just can't make this kind of stuff up. Okay, so, whether you believe in the paranormal or a spirit realm or just chalk everything up to coincidence and are on the more skeptical side, I'm sure we can all agree that everyone has different beliefs on that kind of thing. And for different types of reasons. For example, I grew up in a house where horror movies weren't really banned, but not exactly encouraged. And just belief of the paranormal was out of the question. Then, after Bryce and I were married for a while, and after having been in the long process of trying to establish what was going on with me, I was unable to work for several different reasons, so I stayed home while Bryce worked. Because there is so much fatigue, exhaustion, inflammation, and so much more that goes into those health issues that I didn't have all the answers to yet. I spent most of my time sleeping while Bryce was at work. I have been startled out of sleep before. What differs between those times and this one was because I wasn't the only one who saw and heard it also. At the time, we had 4 dogs. All 4 were so small that put together didn't even total 20 pounds, so they all slept with us. I was taking a nap one day with all 4 of my dogs, and I always sleep with the bedroom door shut and locked and can't go to sleep without first checking that the entirety of the house was locked up. I don't know why I'm like that, but I am nonetheless. One day, I was sleeping in our bedroom, the entire house locked up, bedroom door shut and locked, our 4 dogs in the bedroom sleeping with me, the television turned off, when I was suddenly awoken by banging on our bedroom door. At first, I jumped up in bed and sat for a while to see if I heard what I thought I heard, or if I was having a dream where it scares you awake and you quickly realize you dreamt it all. But I then noticed all 4 of my dogs were standing on the same corner of the bed, the corner closest to the door, staring at it intently. The hair was standing straight, up on all their backs, emphasizing the fact that they not only see what I'm seeing and hearing what I'm hearing, also. I can still hear the banging like it happened yesterday. I wondered if Bryce had come home from work early, he would have not only called on his way home, but he wouldn't approach the situation like that at all. That's just not in his nature. Speaking of it not being in his nature, this banging sounded like someone was pounding on the door with their angry fist. It sounded angry, loud, not innocent by any stretch of the imagination. Then, as if things couldn't get any more bizarre, my dogs and me then see what appears to be the remote control for the living room television that I had left sitting on the living room table, seemingly being shoved up underneath my bedroom door after some of the knocking had subsided. I say my dogs saw it too because all 4 of them were looking in the direction of what looked like the remote at the bottom of the door, hair still raised in adorable mohawks lining up and down their spines. I'm fumbling to find my phone to call the police, as I had nothing else running through my mind at the time other than there was currently an intruder in the home. After calling the police, the dispatcher stayed on the phone with me until there was an all clear. Before I knew it, I could see the silhouettes of armed police officers with their K9 units circling the house through the drape we had over our bedroom window at the time. Once the dispatcher told me that it was all clear and asked if I could go to the front door where the officers would be to talk to me. I met the officers at the door, which they explained they saw no signs of forced entry or a break-in, but still offered to come inside and check the house for me. I told them that wouldn't be necessary if they didn't see anything concerning. After all, I didn't want to waste any more of their time, and I was also embarrassed for calling them when come to find out there was nothing there. I also made a point to check and see where the remote for the living room table was, and it was right where I left it, on the living room table, in the living room, obviously. To this day, I still have no idea what happened. My neighbor at the time called to ask what the hell was going on, to which I told her the story. This neighbor was one who believed in a spiritual paranormal realm, so I'm sure she believed me, especially since she had her own experience, as well not long after mine. But no. To this day, I still have no idea what happened on that day, but I do recall one more incident. This one was more subtle, but still kinda cool. This happened before Bryce's parents moved back to our state from the state his brother and their family live in. For some backstory, for the longest time after my diagnoses, we lived with Bryce's parents. They had been living out of state where Bryce's brother lived for a while and were ready to move back anyway, so we figured while I underwent a lot of tests, labs, and whatnot, we would stay with them, as we traveled back and forth to a great cancer center that his mom just so happened to work for at the time as a registered nurse. She worked for our local one, that my insurance at the time didn't cover, so I had to go out of state every month to the state where Bryce's brother and his family lived, so it wasn't too bad. We got to see our nieces and nephews more regularly while we did that, after the center sold and changed hands. A lot of changes occurred within the facility, as well as a bunch of staff changes that we weren't too thrilled with. So we just recently transferred all my care back home. Because we're not traveling out of state every month, despite his parents saying numerous times they don't even want us moving out and enjoy having us here, we're at a place where it makes sense for us to move out on our own again. All that to say, while we lived there, I had another strange encounter. My family and Bryce have had varying degrees of random strange encounters, but this was my second and final one so far. We babysit my in-laws' dogs while they're on vacation or out of town for something, and one time, their dog was pouting because he missed them and wanted them back home. But the way he was crying was so stinking cute that I couldn't help but pull out the voice note recorder on my phone, pause the only television set on in the house at the time, was the only person home at the time, and start recording it to send to my mother-in-law. I recorded the pouting whimpers, which in the middle of the audio one of my dogs barked, but I never shooshed him for it. Usually I don't shoosh my dogs unless they're barking just to bark and it gets excessive, so had he persisted I would have, but he stopped after one or two little yippy barks that the audio picked up. But that wasn't the only thing my audio picked up on. Right after my dog is heard barking that one or two lone times, you can hear a disembodied voice saying my dog's name, the dog that was barking at that exact moment, just before my dog stopped barking. Now, keep in mind, this dog in particular is a little punk, okay? I love him to death, but he is one of the smartest dogs I have ever seen in my entire life. And do you know what smart dogs are also capable of? Spitefulness. And he is the epitome of an insanely intelligent and equally spiteful dog. This dog will bark, and even when I do try to shoosh him, he's gonna keep barking anyways, just to be a little asshole. So, the fact that my dog stopped barking after this random disembodied voice said his name, specifically, in my audio, says more than you'd think. I guess I can't blame him, since I've been known to be mildly spiteful in the past. Mine is along the lines of, don't tell me I can't do something, because, depending on how passionate I am about the thing, I'll do it just to spite you, you know? As far as activity like that. Other than a wrapper randomly flying off a counter in a creepy hotel room we stayed in once, I haven't really had any more incidents, so to speak, since that. That was when no draft came on or anything, when it had been sitting there for at least an hour without so much as a budge, but that could be explained away. Growing up, I didn't believe in that kind of thing at all, but then started to, but to a skeptical degree. Like, I'm not going to see a video and automatically think it's paranormal in nature. I'm going to think about every logical possibility for that happening before even considering it could be paranormal or supernatural in some way. Bryce had an interesting encounter also at one point, but that's his story. I'll let him tell it sometime, should he choose to do so at some point. There is one more thing that happened, but it's almost like a glitch in the Matrix kind of thing. My mama called me while she was going through some things she had in storage, saying she came across a picture of me and another little girl. She assumed it was a friend of mine that maybe I framed at some point. That was a possibility, seeing as I was no older than 10 years in the photo, same for the other girl in the second slot of the frame. I was curious which friend it could be, so I had her send me a picture of the frame, only to discover that I had never seen this girl before in my life. There was one friend I had around that age that I considered it potentially being, so I asked if it was her. Nope, not her. To this day, I still have the frame with both the photo of me and the unknown girl in it, and have yet to figure out who she is and how I ended up with a photo of her next to a photo of mine approximately around an age before double digits sometime.